Okay, a super quick talk, I think. Well, I'm here to the house. See how we get on real quick. I did a documentary the other day. When I did, a few of us did. Let's see where we're going. And, excuse me. Basically, yeah, we'll see how it goes, how it plays out. The idea of it, I suppose, is myself as an Irish traveller, trying to connect with human beings outside labels and identities and concepts and all of that kind of stuff. Difficult and stupid as that might sound, how do you communicate without concepts and ideas and words? It's kind of stepping outside of this colonial mentality. You think about this as a systematic environment and you were born into it, and naturally enough it would become your reality. But not that long ago it wasn't a reality. Well, it was a reality, but it was a horrifying one for everyone on this island. It's a horrifying experience for many people around the world with the same systems. So the idea is trying to not take anyone's Irish away from them by telling them that we're Irish. Now when I say you, a lot of people know the psychological torture travellers go through. It's either by medical professions, it's either by politicians, it's either by guards. It's always negative. And people might say, oh, well, maybe it's the stereotypes. I'm just trying to surround again because people aren't. You say, well, all the stereotypes. Well, if the stereotypes are true, which I'm sure some of them are, why did they become stereotypes in the first place? How did they become stereotypes? If I go into the psychology of it, you can end up saying things like, why do people do the things they do? So, and we're here, and statistically, when we're coherent, we can speak to you. I think we're intelligent enough to have a conversation with the most educated of settled people. But unfortunately, that's proven to be somewhat difficult, because we're saying things now which was only a matter of time because it was in us. It's innate, born with us. And we didn't come from the colonial mentality. We came from a Gaelic culture, an old culture. Even go back to Neolithical. I don't give a shit how far people want to go back. It doesn't matter what direction or what fraction of Gaels or anything else we came from. What I'm trying to say is that we're here right now as Irish travellers, and for the last 100 years in this country, our country, on our land, under our sky and sun and woods and trees and rivers and lakes and birds and bees and all that shite. This is ours. We're not wanting it to own it. We're not trying to say, get off the land, it's our land. But we are pretty much from these lands, and there's no getting away from that. Science can prove that, and it had to take science to get it this far. For many people that will never truly understand the psychological difficulties travellers go through, you've never seen it, you've only seen the negative, and you'll always hear the negative. But that wasn't always the case with us. Maybe if you think back even a couple of generations, you'll hear many settled people talk how wonderful times were in the 1960s. They were a different kind of people, the nicest, politest, quietest people that you'd ever want to meet. Part of that was true, but also part of that they were very suppressed, like in 1960s America. Same treatment was going on, segregation, institutionalization, and we've seen where that puts people and got people. So these are the things that were happening on our side. So it's about saying, look, our world or your world, it's not about one better than the other. It's about cultures, it's about identity, it's about common sense. That if something once happened on this island and it hadn't been changed, such as the English conquest and all its systems, King's End, which is the barristers for English law, Royal College of Surgeons that looks after your health, English, Trinity College, it gives you an education, English. Nothing wrong with the English people, I swear to you, or the Dublin identity for that matter. It's theirs, it's unique, but it's still one that was never talked about, never addressed. Because Dublin can still have their real identity. They're kind of almost hiding behind it, of the consequences. History would tell us that they've stolen our identity and passed themselves off as the Irish. When common sense would tell you that that's impossible. Only because you say that doesn't make it real. I mentioned some of the systems. We go back in 1922, they incorporated the legal system, the politics, the traditions. There's nothing they didn't leave out that wasn't English. And that continues today. And that would explain the systematic racism and genocide that's been inflicted upon Irish travellers. Not playing the victims. We're trying to tell you we're not you, we're never you, but we're not the broken ones. We knew who we were, but you're living in denial of who you are. And by doing so, you're continuing to suppress your own history, your own identity. Because if you've got the same surnames as ours and you call yourself a settled person and you think that's a privilege, which it is in many ways, but it's some kind of a label of honour. It's just a colonial one that was put on you, and your ancestors paid dearly. I mean paid dearly for avoiding, fighting and resisting against these colonial labels. We're here now, we can't undo the past. But we can stop time in the way we think of time. In other words, everything you were told and taught and felt in a colonial world isn't as real as you think it is. And more times than often, them feelings you have deep down, you don't want to talk about them, you can't talk about them because nobody understands them. That's pretty much, I would believe, historical trauma within the person, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. So with that, my friends, because I'm just about home, is that the whole idea, sooner or later, I try to get to that place where this is really just about human beings. It's not about the traveller or settler. I'm using these labels because we're suffering bad as a result of it. And you believe, or whoever you might be, that if we stop our ways and give up our ways and be more like you, we'd all be better. But if you look at from a traveller perspective, when we're talking about colonisation, the effects it has psychologically on people, which it was planned just as that and said as much, that they were going to break these people down, take away their mother tongue, change the way they think, and they were going to control them. Now that is no different that has happened in other colonial parts of the world. There are, of course, extreme differences in the historical natures of how people were treated, African Americans, African people, and white people. But in systematic form, there's very little difference. It's the same monster, the same ideas. And what a lot of people are forgetting is that there was centuries of torture on this island that has never been really truly known. And if I think it had been, and it will be, in a good way, not against anyone, is that it'll help a lot of people around the world to alleviate themselves from the stresses, the psychological burden of thinking. There is something wrong with them, or their skin complexion, or the way they talk, or the way they feel, the way they are to be. All of that. This goes also a lot for Irish settled people. Like I said, same surnames. You're in a psychological binder. And again, this is not up, down, in, out, over, back. This is about just stepping away from this particular mentality and looking at it in its origins, its beginnings, and how it never stopped to this day. With that, my friends, have a wonderful day, because it is a beautiful day. Take care.